Daniels.
Here.
Randy Neese here. Danny Padee.
Wendy,
Wendy,
we'll get there. I'm here.
Okay. Lynn Larson.
Here.
Richard Kirkap.
Here.
Amy Lentz.
Here.
Sean Murphy. Here. Paul Furnace. Here. We have a full house quorum.
We do. Are there any corrections to the minutes that were emailed out? If not, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Minutes approved. Public comment, non-agenda items.
You guys can go first. I got something.
The calendar posters.
That's what I was gonna bring up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I've put together a vote sheet to take care of this. So like we did last year, we can just pass these around and make your vote. So what I did, Paul, is, and I'm gonna need your help to pick the three that you had already picked out.
Yeah.
So I figured those would be January, February, March for third, fourth, and fifth grade.
Mhm.
And then April, I took Berthoud Elementary, third, fourth, and fifth grades. So I was trying to figure out how many posters we needed to vote in.
Mhm.
And so that's what this sheet is set up to do. And so it'll get us all the way through December with 3 posters for 5 slots.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, with our lower turnout this year, we can definitely just do like one per month.
Well, and that's what I wasn't sure of. So, I mean, if we want to vote on just one, then we can cut out some of these columns. But I thought if we vote on 3 and they still want to lay them out across like that, because the shape of it doesn't really fit the calendar.
Yeah,
So,
it's a good call. Maybe we need to switch it up next year so it's more landscape than.
well, either that or if I can turn this over to the designer for the calendar,
Mhm.
and then they can kind of pick and choose from there.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's great. Hopefully everybody's gotten a chance to look at them.
No, they haven't.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess that should probably come first. But my update was on getting a hold of the designer that Windsor uses.
Okay.
Allison O'Connor let me know about the designer that they used. I reached out and let me see. Sorry, I didn't have this one pulled up. But she gave me a quote. And it looks like I did not add it to my files, but, and oh my gosh, I did not print it out. It was, I think it was like $750 to $800 for the design. And then after that, she was saying we might get a discount if we mention her name at a couple of the printing presses that also Windsor recommended for us. So if we want to go that route, I think it was, yeah, like $750 to $800 is what she quoted. So again, to take that off your plate, or, you know.
Yeah.
But that kind of brings up the question again of like, if we look for sponsors, you know, kind of, even if we can knock that price off, we could definitely get some more calendars. Like I said, we, with like stuff for events and all that stuff, we're already starting a little lower than what we had last year. So depending on the quality of calendars and all that stuff, we're already looking probably less than what we had last year. So
I like the idea of pushing the sponsors.
yeah.
I think we would find some.
How do we start that process? We need to get it approved by the town first.
I'm not sure if we need any official approval for like getting sponsors on a town related document or handout.
For the calendar?
Yeah, you probably need to have maybe one sheeter or something so you can document that they paid one for and so you get all that stuff ready to go. But as far as going out and soliciting them, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we'd find them.
Oh yeah.
Should have some sort of program, like however you guys want to do it, if it's a tiered system or if it's just lump sum or whatever.
Mhm.
What they get in return, that'd be helpful. And just something to document, check boxes, and then exchange and to send you and things like that.
Is it?
So you put something with the check.
Yeah. Is it something like a bid process where now, like, we could pick and choose who goes in it, or is there any kind of like
Say
vetting?
you got tree company, Acme Tree Company, you just go to them, say we have a sponsorship program that, is $100, $500, $1,000, whatever you guys determine, and this is what you get, and you can just go knock on or make a phone call or something, say, would you be interested, in this case, you're talking about some calendar, we have, for $250, we have this calendar that we send out to 1,000 people or whatever, and then you just transact it, and they go, yep, great.
And I'm happy to make those kind of phone calls. I'm not worried
Okay.
about that.
Okay.
I want somebody to do that.
Yeah, I think we talked about, like garden centers, nurseries,
Yeah.
and tree care companies would be great sponsors. So there's tons of those around. I don't think well, I've never done this before, but I don't think we'd have a hard time
I don't
getting
either.
a good list of sponsors together, but maybe we set some kind of goal, and maybe that'd be nicer if we had the quote per calendar, so we'd kind of like know, but maybe we set just some kind of like funding goal, like $1,000 or something, just so we know at what point we're good.
You sponsor
And then we
them.
can just sort of go from there
Just put a dollar amount that's.
in the future. Yeah, and then we'll have a level playing field, just like, this is what we're gonna do.
So we have two questions related to this. My
Yeah.
question is, does the town have anything they're currently doing, like getting sponsorships, like an example program or a sample that we could use, just to not have to like reinvent the wheel?
Our rec department does tons with sponsorships, so they would be a good source.
Oh, good, okay.
So like, yeah, I can kind of get a little more info on the back end, and maybe have it by the next meeting.
Yeah,
Just-
that would make it easy to just plug in our
Yeah,
info.
absolutely,
Mhm.
that's a good idea.
The historic committee has like $50 for one line of a brick, and like $100 for two lines of a brick, and things like that. So
Yeah, that's great.
like pretty easy example.
Yeah, just have a schedule.
Yes.
That's good.
I just, I kind of wonder, because it'd be nice to get, a quote how much they charge us per calendar for printing, but they probably would need to see the design, so there's a lot of like, maybe things that need to be in front of other things for all this, but, yeah. I don't know. I'll keep working on the back end, like, maybe, the $800 for a designer. How does everybody feel about that? I mean,
I've seen the Windsor calendars and they're
It's
worth
worth it.
they're
yeah.
worth
they're really well done.
the designer.
I will agree. Yeah. So, I mean, if we're good with that, maybe I could, start going through the printing company she recommended, and maybe just show them our old one and tell them like what cardstock we got, and maybe, see if they could ballpark a quote on that, and then we could shoot for, I can't remember exactly how many we got last year, but we could shoot for like 250 calendars and just see where we're short, and, set a funding limit for that.
Cool,
So
sounds good.
I will try to get all that information together for the next time.
And I would bring a Windsor calendar too, just
Yeah.
as like.
Yeah, even that, like, not to be
Example.
copycats, but I'm like, this is great, we would love this, so.
Any other public comment or non-agenda items? No, then we will move to discussion items, the Wagner Arboretum public comment.
Okay, so yeah, I sent you guys a couple copies of the, some of the PDFs of the designs.
Yes. They're pretty amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, those were just some of the landscaping documents showing like tree placement, and I included those ones later with like just kind of the overview of what the Arboretum looks like now. So I'll kind of bring it back to like tree selection. Did anyone notice anything? Oh, and before we get any further, I did reach out to Allison and I shared that tree selection with her, got her feedback on that. So she had some good feedback. Our comments kind of lined up pretty similar, but she had some good insight as well. I can kind of share this. So this was the comment I shared back to Wendy, and my comments are in this column, and Allison's comments were over here. So I'll share this with you guys. She just, like I said, most of our stuff lined up, but she had some good insight on a lot of stuff. So I'll share that with you. It's another CSU extension agent that's pretty well known in this area, and she's been working with the CSU
She's a
extension.
PhD in horticulture and is head of the master gardeners for
Yeah.
Larimer County.
Yeah. I mean, anybody in horticulture kind of
Yeah.
has heard her name once or twice. So, yeah, she's got some good comments. Anybody else?
Did you get a reason why she didn't like the paper birch? Is it
I
for
don't
fire
know.
safety?
I mean, in my limited experience with paper birch, I think,
So they get bronze birch borer. That's probably the main reason that she's put that on there.
Mhm.
Mm.
All of the birches get.
I've never seen purchase do well.
yeah.
I've seen a few, but it's not very many.
Paper birch is a really good substrate for like mushrooms and other
Yes, they
things.
are,
So,
yeah.
it would be like one of those, oh, it died, great, now.
I can put it down and grow mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's probably, I would guess, like, they just don't tolerate the Colorado heat, and they really need those cold, like, valleys next to a stream or something to really thrive. But, occasionally, yeah, you'll see one just kind of out of place, but it's loving life. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
They can make it, it's just not
Yeah.
normal.
and again, like what I've said for a while on the Arboretum is like, it's worth a try on a lot of this stuff. I mean, this isn't outlandish, plant selection. This was still like curated for Colorado. And, everything could be worth a try. And if it dies, I mean, that's just part of an Arboretum. It's just like, oh, we had a paper birch, but Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the idea with the arboretum.
Information.
right? If we just plant 6 varieties, and,
See what happens.
already on the street already, so.
Yeah.
Try something different.
Sean, did
Were
you
there
have-
hawthorns on here or no hawthorns?
I think so. Yeah, Sean.
I was just gonna say, I don't know about your experience with the flash fire variety. I know we want a few maples in there and stuff, but I'm really impressed with the one I've got growing in our yard and stuff. It's very beautiful and requires little or no water.
Yeah.
It's growing in clay pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah, mine's doing good too.
Yeah, I think
I'm
we,
impressed with that variety.
kind of like with Arbor Day, I think this would be a great opportunity to highlight some more of the more tolerant maple varieties and, stuff like the flash fire or more of these caddos would be great. I mean, it'd be kind of funny to also just do an on a blaze and just, see, like, here you go.
Yeah.
This is what they'll look like, but yeah. Yeah. But yeah, Rick, these are the hawthorns. I didn't know about tobas being short-lived. That was kind of interesting to me.
I didn't see any lindens. Is that because of Japanese beetle or
No, there's
did I miss it?
there are some lindens. So
No. Extensive list.
Oh, I must have just I probably just breezed past it and didn't see it.
I definitely saw lindens. It's
Tilia?
yeah, it was broken up. It goes like deciduous,
It's under shade.
evergreen, deciduous.
It's other group,
Yeah, I didn't. I must have missed it.
I swore I saw some on here for sure.
Well, if you do, the one I was looking for was the silver linden, the tomentosa, the hairy one, because it's the one that's resistant to Japanese beetle. So I think it'd be cool to show that as an option. But yeah, I must have missed it.
It's on here. I'm flipping through way too quickly.
It's a long.
Yeah, it'd be up.
Oh, there, I see it now. It's down here at the very bottom, and I do see one. Yeah, sterling silver linden. Okay. It's at the very bottom of that first page of this page. It's
Oh.
the very bottom of the last column.
I hope I didn't cut anything off in this one. I just kind of copy and paste, but yeah, I definitely saw some lindens on there, and I agree. You know, I haven't seen Japanese beetle too bad here, but I feel like it's also only a matter of time, or you know, somebody lets it fester and then it moves around. And, I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, but it could be a problem.
I think
But
last year was not, it was fairly bad last year.
Mhm.
Not nearly as bad as
For
I've seen in
Japanese.
the Northeast, but
Yeah.
yeah, they're everywhere.
and they seem to be rather picky. Like if they can find their favorite stuff, they'll go to that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. So, but I know they do like lindens. So, but yeah, if you noticed on the designs, we do have a lot of different kind of little microclimates formed by the
Yes.
topographic changes. So like stuff like the paper birch, you know, we will have at least I'm pretty sure the plan is to still have some moving water, which could foster these more like water loving, you know, water dependent tree varieties and stuff. And then, you know, we'll have a little bit of hills, so we might get like more of a, you know, I don't know if like a 8 to 10 foot hill is going to really guide the wind much, but we could get, you know, like a little high spot where we get higher winds and
It could create a microclimate.
yeah, definitely. And then, you know, a lot of these microclimates will be formed by the trees themselves, you know, and that's what I
And that'll
really,
take some time.
yeah, and that's what I'm interested in seeing. And then we're just gonna have to learn as quickly as we can is what are these little microclimates that are being created by a lot of our plantings. So
It'll be fun.
yeah, exactly. I'm pretty excited. But yeah, that's kind of why we want to start with these tried and true, or at least, you know, a lot of good candidates here, because it also, you know, be unfortunate to plant something and not know, oh, this is a particularly windy site, or it gets really cold in the winter because it's a little valley, or you know, we'll just have to quickly figure it out while we're taking
Or
care of
slowly
it.
figure it out.
Yeah.
Anything else?
It would be cool to have a weather station at the, not to open up a can of worms, but it would be cool to have like a weather station at the Arboretum.
I would love that.
And it could tie into like the education and the science.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then we could learn about the microclimates.
I would like that too, because the weather app I use actually uses like crowdsourced weather stations, and that'd be awesome to have one like I know
Yeah.
exactly where it is, you know, and even to get like you know, temperature at one of our parks,
humidity,
you know, temperature, wind speed, all that stuff right on site. So
All right. Anything else? Yeah.
I could maybe piggyback on that. I did some investigation on having an air quality station in town and stuff. To have it certified, it would be pretty expensive, but you can do the low at home kits for less than $1,000.
Yeah.
I'd certainly be interested in that. I did have a comment though. Do you mind scrolling down to kind of the conifers? I just wanted to take one more look at that section.
what are you looking for? Or just in
If
general?
there were any standouts that needed any comment or removal.
Bosnian pine. I've never heard of it.
It's very similar to Austrian pine.
Yeah.
Very.
My
they're-
kids have those.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
They grow pretty well.
they do. And they're a little bit smaller than Austrian pines, but
Well, that's good though.
Yeah. when you think about the name, it just tells you they come right next door. Right? Bosnia, Austria.
Okay, what's our discussion over here, you guys? I
Oh,
can't-
sorry, is the plan to still pare back on the planting schedule and kind of phase it, or?
That might come down to budgeting. Honestly, I am not opposed to that plan. Again, like having 800 trees and especially a lot of more delicate varieties, we might be putting out a lot of fires of a lot of trees. I mean, regardless, even if we did, you know, the tried and true, we're gonna probably see some tree die off, and like halving the planting or, you know, reducing the planting would help us keep on top of it.
Might
And
Good to minimize the die-off.
yeah, exactly. I mean, we'll, you know, we plant every tree with the hopes that it'll survive, but, you know, planting success rates are, you know, even with the best trees, very dependent. And so I'm all for it, and I'll you know, suggest it if I just know that in the budgetary like scope of things, like, yes, this is a lot of trees for this, but I don't know if it's going to make or break, really. So it really depends on, you know, what kind of product we want to just like,
So there's
you know,
gotta be a timing situation here about planting this stuff.
I would hope so. Like I
In phases.
certainly hope we're not out like, you know, planting trees in the middle of July next next year or something like.
30%
Yeah.
success.
Well, and you know, one thing I've considered with this is like, you know, almost every single irrigation box and everything that goes in, like until I see they're doing it right and consistently, like I'm not I'm really not gonna leave the contractors alone, because with this big of a system and you know, 800 trees, like I would definitely want to make sure we're getting stuff right.
Because that was kind of a leading question. Is this project gonna support the forestry team budget in any way to maintain?
That is a good question.
Danny preempted my questions.
Yeah. I will say my guys, after taking a glimpse at the plans, are a little nervous. I would imagine a lot of this park would fall under forestry and open space, and you know, 800 trees and
How skilled are they at that,
at what?
at doing trees?
They're good, but you know, there's only so many hours in the day, and before the next season is nipping at your heels and all that. So we definitely want to, you know, be able to take care of it the best way we can, but you know, we also don't want it to take all of our attention, because we still have, you know,
All the rest
multiple
of
other
it.
parks to take care of for sure. My open space guys will, you know, probably be doing a lot of mowing, a lot of, you know, keeping the weeds down the first couple of years and all that stuff. And it's going to be a big area. To put it in perspective, our bike park, we just did the first mow of this season there, and it took all week to mow it with our equipment.
Yeah.
So, you know, what is it? It's like 17 acres, I think. What's the,
Whoa,
20, 22,
whoa.
40? Okay, 40
Oh my
acres.
gosh.
Yeah. So it's gonna be big. And yeah, I don't wanna let, it is gonna be the main focus, because I'd hate to like have a park roll out and, you know,
Not successful.
yeah, and it's just, you know, stuff is looking just not very well taken care of. So I don't know. I'm hoping we have some talks about, you know, at least staff. Maybe dedicated staff would be great. I think that would be
That would be nice.
really nice. You know, we've talked about that for a recreation center, where somebody's just keeping on top of everything that's going on. They're not a master of everything, but
Just that's one project.
yeah, there's somebody who has a problem with the irrigation. They found it and like relay it to the people who know irrigation. They can fix it, but they need help, you know, and so we've thought about yeah, like maybe a handful of dedicated staff. A lot of
I think you should keep thinking about this very seriously.
yeah, most definitely.
That's a good point.
Another great thing, and I don't know if this is going to bridge that gap, but a lot of people at Bertha Day came up asking if there would be volunteer opportunities at the Arboretum. And I'm like, you know, a lot of our volunteer stuff isn't going to be glorious work. It's, and I told most of the people asking this, I was like, you know, you're not going to be working our mower probably, like that'll be left to us, but it'd probably be the stuff like pulling weeds, you know, like going out there, here's a shovel, you know, start popping weeds. And then when we start to get more into tree work, I mean, maybe we could just have
And it'd be a
people.
good project for Master Gardeners.
Yeah.
Volunteer hours.
The Master Gardeners were a group that brought it up initially.
That would work.
Does that work for their volunteer
Yes,
hours? Not
yes.
just like educational, it can be
Well,
work?
Okay. It's supposed to be educational,
Yeah.
but they do demonstration gardens.
If we're
And
the
this
one,
would be a in my mind, this is a demonstration garden.
if we're the ones educating them, does that still count as educational? Because we could frame it as like, we're gonna teach you how to prune trees and then.
We can talk about that, but I think it's
Yeah.
good. I think
Yeah.
it'd be very positive.
Yeah.
I would
There's ways to work
definitely.
around it, yeah.
Yeah, I
Would
would
those kind of volunteer opportunities give us points for the,
Yes.
for the tree?
I think it definitely
I
would.
think that's a possibility, definite possibility.
I think if you can pair a master gardener up with other volunteers during a volunteer session where they're the ones helping to teach the person that they're also helping
Mhm.
volunteer, because they don't need a lot of education in terms of weed pulling and stuff. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But they would be great to pair up with, say, a youth group or something to where
Yes.
they're the ones doing the teaching and you just trust them to do that.
Yeah.
That would give them hours, no problem.
Yeah.
That would work.
Yeah.
Thanks, Wendy.
I've gotten a lot of questions about like volunteer opportunities and, you know, I haven't gotten much into it in, either of my departments, but like, you know, I just think of stuff that, you know, something that doesn't need a lot of supervision.
Right.
You know, it'd be great that we have more hands on deck, like looking at everything. But I hate to give them the really crappy jobs, but it's come up at the bike park too, and it's just like all I can think of, like stuff that we can tell you, go up here and pull weeds,
Yeah.
and like you could go up there and you could pull a truck bed full of weeds, or you could go up there and smoke cigarettes. Like you know, like at the end of the day, you know what you do or don't is like not inconsequential to
Yeah.
you know.
Maybe
like-
something like along the highways, the cleanup signs along the highways, the Kiwanis have this mile. Or you have a group that has a sign, this area of the Arboretum is sponsored by and kept clean by
Yeah.
the local Chamber of Commerce or somebody like that.
Were you gonna say something else?
So eventually, like when we do roll this out, we can just have something on our website with like an application for like groups or individuals and with a list of opportunities. So I feel like we'll find a mechanism for making it more streamlined.
That might be the most streamlined way because I know one thing was, you know, we have to have them sign a waiver, like, you know, liability waiver. And so like if that was something where like sign up for the June
Cleanup day.
cleanup day, and then it's like they already go through an online like waiver
Yeah.
and then they get put on a roster.
It's already done, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that could work. That'd be really good. Because instead of like gathering everybody around, passing around the clipboard and making sure no one runs off without it, like to even get their name on the roster, you know, they kind of have to check the box and.
And then I think you could use master gardeners on those days as kind of an enhancement to your own staff to where they could then lead those groups, you know, because they can,
Absolutely.
just a couple volunteers from the master gardener group would be very valuable for your time.
Yeah.
For sure.
And maybe even be a draw
Mhm.
where it's like come learn with the master
Yeah,
gardeners, like
Exactly, yeah.
you
yeah.
know how to like prune branches on young trees or something like that.
I'll probably be a master gardener next summer, so.
Good for you. Okay, any more public comment or
I-
comments on the Wagner Arboretum? Should we move on to Q3 social media? You want something?
Oh, I just had a brief question to Paul. What were your thoughts on limber pine? Have you seen that successful at this elevation?
We have one at Wagner that it looked like it kicked the bucket, but came out and it's been trucking right along. So it's on the north west corner of Wagner,
Okay.
like how it kind of dips down from the sidewalk and the road. It's on that hillside on the northwest corner.
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's it completely lost all of its needles like one fall, and I was like, "Yep, another one, chalk it up." And spring came along, and those candles came out, and I was like, "Oh, hold on." So
Yeah.
yeah, it was it's been pretty good, and it looks great. So I guess you'd never be able to tell that it lost all of its needles. So
That's awesome.
I was just gonna make a couple more comments
Mhm.
on the list. I completely agree with Allison to avoid all of those arborvitaes.
mhm.
I wouldn't even touch them.
Yeah.
But I didn't see a Leland cypress on here that could be something you could show. They do a little better.
Leland cypress.
Leland cypress, they look like arborvitaes. They look like like halfway between an arborvitae and a juniper. They're kind of like
Hmm.
that middle ground.
Are they cypresses then, like
They're,
Taxodium?
I don't know the scientific name of them, but Leland, Leyland. That might just be one to throw in there. And then for your Mugo pine, one of the varieties that's becoming more popular is Tannenbaum. It has a very strong Christmas tree shape to it, and it stays really little, so
Okay.
kind of cool.
Like kind of hits that small pine that isn't as
Mhm.
sensitive as like
Yeah.
a Norfolk. Or,
Yes.
Yeah, or yes.
The other one that most people plant is the big tuna. And it's, I know, but it gets really big and round.
Mhm.
So that's another one.
What was the first Mugo?
Tenenbaum.
Okay. And then the big tuna.
Big tuna is like the old, the one that's been around for decades.
Okay.
Anything else?
And that's it.
The Arboretum public comment?
Just getting back to the phasing.
Mhm.
Maybe two ways to do it. You could plant everything, but only some of those.
Mhm.
And then fill in later on. Or
Mhm.
the other way, I guess, would be to do section by section.
I've thought about that, and I think the first option of spread it all out, so it doesn't look like, oh, we're just up here in the north and like coming soon, down here. I think it would look better like if it's sparse, but plenty of planting room in between, and the irrigation's all there and all that stuff, easy to tap into. I think that would look nicer, and it'd be a park that is still like walkable, as opposed to like the
This is empty and this is
Yeah.
not.
yeah, exactly.
And then you have a certain amount growing, if it's a couple of years till you'll fill in, then you'll have
Yeah.
a difference in size. The only problem is if you establish all your seeding first, then you'll have trouble
Yeah,
getting back in the plant.
I'm dealing with that already. It's just a fact of life. I mean, yeah, we're gonna have great stands of grass, I'm sure, at some point, and then we're just gonna ruin them, and it's not
Honestly,
bluegrass.
it'll probably take you a few years to establish those natives anyway.
Yeah.
So
And my
take with a grain of salt.
my recent nervous thing is really just keeping the weeds down in the first 5 years. We're on that timeline with any open space, and you can get around it with years like this, or you can skip a year with a year like this, and we'll have irrigation there. Now, whether or not like a lot of it is going to be overhead irrigated, we haven't seen the irrigation plans yet, but that can speed things along. But it also helps the weeds.
I wonder if there's a good cover crop that you could use to just kind of keep the area. Yeah, I think alfalfa is good. It's a lot of water, but maybe there's some kind of cover crop
Mhm.
that then you could just go and, when you are ready to start establishing your natives.
Yeah.
They're hard.
I mean, depending on the timeline, if any of you guys have driven past Northern Water, they did a native seeding, but their cover crop was annual ryegrass.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Annual rye.
Yeah, it'll look turfy, but
It'll be green.
it'll be green, and it'll
You can mow it.
yeah. So, but again, that's where timing is. Like, if we don't see good native grass success, we would have to all right, bring out the annual ryegrass again. And I mean, the success that they got, I actually talked with their grounds guy, because I was just like, y'all are killing it over here. What are you doing? And yeah, he was like, oh, it's all annual ryegrass right now.
Yeah.
Don't-
My sister's
Yeah.
doing the same thing.
I do have a question, but it may be more appropriate when everybody's together, but up on the map, in the northeast and the southeast sections, it talks about wetlands plants.
Mhm.
And it seems to me wetlands plants would not be surprising around the pond and along the running stream, but up in those two corners, is it appropriate to talk about that here, or should we wait till the other meeting?
That's your question, Paul.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
are they gonna be heavily irrigated? If they're wetland plants, they have to be heavily irrigated, don't they?
Yeah, so I don't think, looking through the plans, there was like an actual plant list besides the trees yet. So I
No,
don't.
there wasn't a plant list, but there was just a space that
I
says,
see where it says wetland native seed mix.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
and I think at least when I was interpreting those, it was like it will be the lowest area, especially that southeast corner. A lot of the southern area will like drain there, and so it'll be a low area. And it'll probably be a wetland in that, you know, like, it'd be more in the spring or fall seasons where like cool, wet air accumulates and it's kind of like caught in a depression.
Okay.
And but yeah, those plants just have to make it through the hot,
Yeah.
the hot summers.
That was just.
Also, it'd probably be just more clay, so that it's holding on to that moisture under whatever, sand or topsoil they're dropping.
Yeah.
That's usually what we'd see in
Oh, no.
like those government ponds around here anyway.
Yeah. So I'd be interested to see,
What they come up with.
yeah, and I would just, I'm a little nervous about that area too. I don't want it to just turn into like a cattail field. You know, cattails just get out of control, like I'm dealing with them at Hillsdale, and they move where they want to, as long as there's water there, and like, they can be hard to deal with. So
They are wetland plants.
they are, and like, they're fine near the pond, but I don't,
Okay.
we gotta keep them in check.
Yeah.
Can we, for time purposes, because we're running at 25 minutes.
Yep.
Go on to
Good.
Q3 social media posts.
Yeah.
Okay, good call, Kennedy.
Moving on. Thanks, Kathy.
So again, these are kind of, you know, just a little refresh from what we did last year. August was, it was just getting a hold of an arborist. That's where we highlighted trees are good to find a local arborist, and then also highlight our licensed arborist services here in town. I'm still perfectly all right with that. I do like getting people familiar with our licensed arborist service list on our website and all that, and you know, just picking a qualified arborist, if anything. But one thing that's been way too apparent this year is that I've been dealing with a lot of breaks in Main Street. I'm seeing a lot of mature trees that are not completely failing, but they are dropping branches pretty bad. And I don't know if this would be actually a good social media post, because it would only include people with mature trees, which is, you know, a fraction of birthed. But I don't know how we spread that knowledge to people that, you know, yeah, your tree's been there for 30 years and it's been.
This
like,
might be the right way to do it.
I just wonder if, you know, even that section of birthed, if they're really in tune with social media, you know, like.
Oh, that could be.
A lot of the people that I worry about are like the, you know, the people living on Social Security, and they probably.
I'm worried about you.
He worries about me.
Well, I think it's easier for people to take incremental steps for mature tree, you know, whatever they're dealing with, the inevitable removal, or just start thinking about saving up, or, you know, have that nest egg for when something does go wrong. It's so those conversations aren't so tough to have with them when they're looking at a dead tree or you know, a failed tree or something like that. And so I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's great to put out to the whole town on our social media, because it only really targets so many people.
I think it targets people who are planting new trees as well. Because
Yeah.
I think if you start to talk about what's gonna happen with mature trees 30 years down the road, you can also talk directly to those who are purchasing new trees and say, now is the time to think about that mature tree that you're planting
Yeah.
now.
Like
So-
all the bad cuts and
Yeah,
the improper planting.
And choosing the wrong species is gonna set you off right from the beginning, to where 30 years from now, you're definitely gonna have problems. So maybe there's a way to spin it to where you're talking about mature trees, but you're grabbing the attention of those that are planting new ones as well.
Yeah.
And as far as the target audience that you're trying to get to, Paul, would that be like a one pager that we slip in the mailbox, or how? what are the ones that
Yeah.
get that?
Well, this would be like just on our town's Facebook page.
Yeah, I'm saying for the people who might not be so.
Yeah. Well, and that's something
And
else
they
I've
look in their mailbox, but not at their screen.
yeah. That's something else I've considered, just with like how this post might reach the people it needs to reach. And it's like, I mean, I've thought about just like walking the streets of Old Town, like literally door to door, and just like, hey, let's look at your trees, you know, like
That's
Not-
a
not
bad
coming-
idea.
not really coming at them like, you need to do this, but like, hey, let's take a look at your tree. This is what I see. This is what I see. Like, and you know, just, maybe they've never had an expert look at their trees, and
They might just like
it,
welcome that.
yeah,
People have paid for you to come to their house and talk about trees.
yeah, yeah, because, I mean, you know, it's,
So I walk up around and I see trees and go like, oh my God, it's a dead limb. Are they ever gonna cut it off?
yeah, it'd be a tough, long campaign, but I think it'd be well worth it because, I don't like being reactionary. I think like most of what I've been doing here is very proactive, and those reactionary moments are very hard for me because you know, it's just not a good feeling. So
It's like a neighborhood tree watch.
that'd be good.
I think you should chair it.
Okay, we're gonna get together. Okay. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do a neighborhood tree watch.
I mean,
Well, you know, did you see that, pay attention to the one there on South First by Indiana that I mentioned? It looked like a truck hit the branch or something.
oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, I saw that one. That one got mauled.
It really did. It really did.
Yeah.
Bad.
Like what kind of truck was coming down here? But yeah, I mean, even stuff like that would just be, you know, remind them of the clearance things, like
Yeah.
for even places like Mary's Farm and
Yeah.
our medium tree canopies and all that. Because
Okay. Excellent. Anything else on social media programs?
Do you have anything deep root watering, July, August?
so for July, I was gonna do tree watering considerations. Something that has just completely gotten pushed to the side was my June post, which was going to be for tree watering. Not the post, the my monthly tree care tips. So I still have yet to upload June. I've been diligent up till now for getting them out before the month, but I'm still trying to find some time to like sit down and write this, and that would be. I plan on having it out before July, but that would be great to where we even have the link for July. If we still go with tree watering consideration, it just links it to that tree care tip. I wonder if we could do that where it goes right to that one, or maybe they just have to navigate a little further to find it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's also weird on a year like this where it's like, you know, it's been a rather rainy spring, but it's like, let's talk about tree watering, you know.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, July, August is really the time.
And this
Yeah.
is supposed to be horrendous summer.
Yeah,
So,
we'll see. I have fingers crossed. But yeah, so tree watering for July, August. I'll see. I'll talk with Stephanie and see if we can't find a good way as like a catch-all, like, you know, take care of your trees in general, so we don't end up here. But yeah, and then September, maybe talking about where they can find help for, you know, tree problems. I feel like most tree problems by September are pretty apparent, and they've been dealing with them for a while, but maybe a little out of season. But I think it'd still be good to fit in there, you know. And that's something we could bring back. The Trees Are Good licensed arbor services.
and there's the Larimer County Tree Care.
Yeah, and even plug the extension office.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. On to staff report.
Oh, I was
my
gonna
gosh.
bring this up for the mature trees, but this is what happened and got me. It was on the forefront. This was actually a cottonwood in the right of way. Came down on a rather clear morning. I think maybe the night before was a little bit of a thunderstorm, and this was a poorly structured cottonwood, but basically everything on the ground there is half of it. And luckily no one got hurt, but completely, I mean, that was one of the worst, yeah.
Where was this?
This was in Old Town, 4th Street.
Really?
And so, you know, this is not the first one this year. This would actually be 2, maybe 3, depending on, I mean, I chalk it up as like property damage from a tree. So we're at 3 this year. Branches, or well, this was technically a branch, but you know, damaging property, and that's never a fun conversation to have. So again, being a little more proactive, like I've got pictures. I don't know if it's great to share them like this, but you know, just like this happened in our town. Like it's,
This would be good to include with the social media posts.
Yeah.
What could happen.
Is your tree gonna do this to your neighbor's car?
It's cheaper to get it cut down and to have your insurance rates go up.
it's true. I mean, yeah, this is the second car that has technically been totaled this year, and then I actually had one today. So it's not a car, but property damage from a tree. So otherwise, we my crew installed the pots on Main Street. That was everybody, my forestry and my open space crew all helped out with that. So all the
Really great, by the way.
yes, the pots are on Main Street. And then kind of, oh, this is just some interesting tree damage and the interesting, really color of the tree, but this is next to the skate park. I'm assuming some rambunctious kids from the skate park came over and found a little peeling bark and ripped half the tree off, so I'm sure that tree's not gonna make it much longer. But it was pretty cool. I thought the red bark was, or the red cambium was pretty cool. We helped out at the community garden remulching that area. If anyone's been by Pioneer, the town really helped give the community garden like an upgrade.
It looks great.
Yeah.
It really looks great.
And the we kind of helped them redo the fruit tree area. There was a lot of weed fabric down there, which is, it was doing well keeping the weeds down, but you know, we wanted to, we had some really good mulch, so we wanted to really, you know, start to nurture that soil with the mulch. So we ripped out the weed fabric, and once we got the irrigation all set out, we were able to spread some mulch. So my crew's out there doing that. Over at Hillsdale, we're kind of starting our Hillsdale, what to call it, kind of a facelift, but just like an overhaul. We've got a huge planting project planned down there where we're replacing a lot of dead trees and kind of like running lines to trees that have not had drip irrigation. So these are kind of right on, I think this is Kansas Avenue. We planted a couple bristlecones that have kind of been off irrigation for a while. So this is just us running a line off the existing irrigation system to just some trees that have not had irrigation. Another picture of that. The fruit tree area of mulch, sorry, it's at a weird angle there. One of my guys likes to take photos at an angle. And then, you know, just like the last couple months, it's been a race to get irrigation all up and running. So we were actually replacing backflow on Main Street that had gotten hit by a car, and it took a little bit of actual heavy machinery to access the broken parts of the pipes. So we were able to get that repaired and up and running, and to feed a pot on Main Street. So. And that is it for the staff report. Irrigation.
Did
Again.
that one go back in PVC?
What's that?
Did that one go back in PVC?
We did do PVC, yeah. We didn't get Schedule 80, so. It's, well, what we did on this one was we did some unions, so at least we can remove half of the backflow in the winter.
Yeah.
And we're gonna try that on all the backflows on Main Street, where we actually just remove them for the winter, so that they don't get hit by cars. We can pull them in nice, like, you know, put them in our garage where they're not freezing and getting snow all over them and all that. So,
And it's on a quick disconnect, or?
yeah, so they're unions. They're like 1-inch pipe unions, and really we can just unscrew them, put like a cap over it to protect the pipes, and then just take the top half of the backflow and just take it back to the shop with us. So,
Do these have cages on them?
yeah, they do, but they still get hit pretty bad.
Make it real easy to.
Just take them.
Yeah, they've done pretty good, but we always get a couple on Main Street. So, they're small backflows, but they account for a lot, and we need them up and running. So though, and they're a bit more complicated than they seem. So I really prioritize that with my crew. Like, I know it sucks, but let's just get it done, and we don't have to think about it. It's just, just let's just embrace the suck. I don't know. So we got it all good.
Anything else?
No.
We got a few extra minutes. Might have anything for the good of the order? All right, then I will adjourn our meeting at 6:21.